We need to talk about more injustice at the Justice Department. Would you say Department of Trump or something? Yeah,
Department of Just Trump.
Department of Just Trump. Todd Blanche.
Top line
Honey, next week he
next
is
week.
going. Todd Blanche. He is going to court, I guess, or
Well, he's going, well,
the
which
hearing. Yeah.
he has been in the top positions in the Department of Justice in this Trump administration. He has been a Trump defense attorney prior to his appointment. Let's make one thing very clear. He's now been nominated by Donald Trump to formally be confirmed as the United States Attorney General. He is serving right now as an interim United States Attorney General. So he is in position, but not confirmed by
Right.
the. But Todd Blanche, I don't want to suggest that defense attorneys cannot be our top lawyers. I do not want to suggest that. The problem isn't that Todd Blanche was a defense attorney. The problem is that Todd Blanche is in this role because he has agreed that he will do Trump's bidding.
Yes.
And the US the problem here is that is not what the Department of Justice is supposed to be when it comes to prosecutions. Policy issues, okay, appointees get to advance the lawful policies. We may disagree with them, but that's a different story. This is not about policy differences and disagreements. This is about weaponizing the Department of Justice that's why I call it the Department of Just Trump. What we have seen, Donald Trump demanding loyalty, demanding the Department of Justice. We saw that when we had the hearings on January 6th. We saw that when he went after James Comey, when James Comey was over there. We have a pattern from Donald Trump that says, I want it to be my department, not the people's department. And Todd Blanche says, I will prove to you that I'm that guy. I'm the guy
Does
who will
Todd
do.
Blanche, in this case, is there immunity for what's happening with hush money? Does Donald Trump and Todd Blanche get immunity?
So here's the thing. This is what we need to hear in this hearing next week. So what we're said, and I want to be very, very candid about that, the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights that I have the privilege to be president and CEO of is over 240 national organizations. We're fully organized and mobilized to say, nah, you need to vote him down. But part of what we need to hear is, one, we know that right now, Todd Blanche is using the power of his position and his control over law enforcement to try to suppress votes and make it harder for voters to vote. He is criminalizing and threatening our entire system of free and fair elections by using the power. I'm calling it the power of persecution. Prosecution is not supposed to be persecution. You're supposed to have evidence of a crime. That's
Yeah.
not what we're seeing from this Department of Just Trump. That's not what he's demanding, and Todd Blanche is going along with it, along with others. But it's also the immunity. Your point about and protect me from ever having to be accountable for tax evasion, tax fraud. Oh, and my children. It isn't that immunity that Todd Blanche slid in to a settlement agreement on a lawsuit that Donald Trump brought against against the United States. So as one judge said, he's on both sides of the cases, right? He's the United States as the president, but he's also Citizen Trump, who's trying to say, you have to pay me for the fact that you came after me for violations of law. And he slid in. And by the way, Republicans in the Senate have not said they will block Blanche for sliding in a provision that says no Department of Justice ever in any time or point in the future can actually even investigate whether Trump or his children did anything wrong under our tax codes. That is crazy. This is a man who just made $2 billion as president.
The most he's ever made in his lifetime. And not only that, remember this, Todd Blanche is the guy who had the documents on Epstein and did the crazy redactions and all sorts of other things. So Todd,
Whoa. Let's even go back further. He's the one who personally met with Ghislaine Maxwell. Personally, at
yeah,
his level. Let me just tell you, At his level of position in the Department of Justice at the time he did that, that was highly unusual.
Yeah,
Even if that discussion was going to happen, and we can question whether it should have, it would not have happened at that level
yeah.
of the Department of Justice under another president.
So listen, this is unprecedented, okay, as it relates to Todd Blanche. Unprecedented. The 1,200 former DOJ officials sent a letter to Congress, all right, to state their opposition to Blanche, as did hundreds of former judges.
And
There
I
is
signed that letter.
opposition.
I
There's
want you to know.
vocal opposition. There is vocal opposition, credible opposition to Todd Blanche. And yet, as you said, we have not heard what these Republicans are planning on doing with him. They've been letting whatever Trump wants go and go forward to the detriment of this nation, to the detriment of the people,
Of
we the people.
everyone, no matter who you vote for. This is so important because what every American needs to understand about what's happening right now is you're not safe just because you voted one way or the other. You're just not safe when you have a persecution department rather than a legitimate prosecution department. And that's why those of us, because I signed that letter,
Yeah.
having worked in the Department of Justice, I worked alongside people who did not share my viewpoints in the Department of Justice, in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District. We all did the work. The work was, is there evidence? Should we pursue a case? I was on the civil side, not the criminal side. We brought civil fraud cases. The importance of is what they are killing, and when they kill that, they kill it for everyone. They kill it for everyone.
So as we're talking about DOJ, the Department of Just Trump, as Maya Wiley calls it, let's talk about what they're doing. They're weaponizing the department against the August 4th elections in Michigan. They want to have monitors there. They want to have monitors to intimidate the people. There's no problem. Listen to this. In Lansing and Detroit, the D, Lance, we know what that is.
Detroit, Atlanta, Philadelphia. See a pattern? Anyone see a pattern here?
Hmm.
It
And
will
that,
extend to the Southwest too, you
yeah,
know? It will extend to the Southwest too.
and
And
that's why, the John Robert Lewis Voting Rights Act needs to not just be for the South anymore, because it's all across the nation. This thing, this intimidation, this voter intimidation, this harassment. Talk to me about this, because these what are these election monitors actually able to do? Because they're going to go there to intimidate, just like Donald Trump went to the Supreme Court to intimidate the justices. But we'll talk about that in a moment.
so here's the thing. It is not inappropriate or unusual for the Department of Justice. In fact, we as a civil rights community have asked for it in the past to say we're worried that people's civil rights are being violated. And therefore, we need some monitoring to ensure that the states are complying or a particular jurisdiction is complying.
But with
Civil
this
rights
Trump
part.
DOJ,
This is the opposite. This is the exact opposite. This is saying we're going to deploy monitors to harass independent election administration and oversight because we want to drive a narrative that suggests that non-citizens are voting, even when evidence, research, every single time it's challenged in court, we find the same thing, and we have for decades, which is our system does a good job of monitoring, identifying whether people should be voters and on the rolls. And then if there are mistakes, which is very rare, there are ways that there are checks and balances in the system. So as long as the system is working and working as it should, you should not have monitors. So what they're doing is sending monitors without any evidence or suggestion that anything was illegal or wrongful or mistaken even. And that is because, and this is part of a pattern that goes beyond the monitors in Michigan. This is Fulton County, Georgia, where Donald Trump asked a Republican Secretary of State to
for
find him
more votes.
1,100 votes.
I need to find some votes.
And they haven't stopped. have not stopped going after Fulton County, Georgia, including and this is important because our courts are still holding, but just on July 7th, just 2 days ago, um, Fulton County was able to void, but listen what our Department of Justice did, a demand that they turn over personal information on election workers, thousands of them from the 2020 election. The reason for this and the reason they sent out a letter to the states threatening election workers with criminal prosecution is because to all the states is because this Department of Justice is doing everything it can to
Bunch of
use its
bullies.
power to intimidate those who just work at the polls, those who are administering elections and suggesting if we don't like what you do, we can criminally charge you. And this goes back to my point
It used
about
to be a badge of honor to work the polls.
it should still be. But and look, we have seen election workers threatened because if Donald Trump or someone from his administration calls them by name, they get death threats. We've seen independent election workers quit their jobs in droves because it's become so difficult and scary. And these are just civil servants. These are just people who sign up just to help people do what they're
Exactly.
constitutionally allowed to do. We saw that, we talk about Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman,
Oh,
who had to move and whose lives were threatened by white supremacists simply because they passed something to one another that had nothing to mother daughter,
yeah.
as poll workers. I mean, this is where intimidation has created so much insecurity. This isn't public safety. This is persecution, and it
Mhm.
only has one purpose, and it's to protect Donald Trump's interests.
So I believe the person's name is Marlis. You guys are the chat, and the chat is just moving. Marla says they were not upset about the lines in Atlanta. Atlanta has had some serious issues with long lines. They have
Close
never been
toll
concerned.
places, can't give water to people who stand in 6
Oh
hours
my God, it's
line.
a crime. If grandma needs a little sugar because her sugar is off or something to eat, if you give grandma a piece of candy or a cracker, you and grandma are going to jail. Why you in the
Listen,
line to
if
vote?
you
That's crazy.
they have now indicted the Ohio organizing. They're not indicted, I'm sorry. Please let me correct this. They are investigating. The Department of Injustice is investigating the Ohio Organizing Collaborative, which is an umbrella group that fights for workers' rights. It fights for child care. It fights for more funding for health care, and it registers voters. It does work to
Yeah,
ensure that Black voters are registered to vote. They're being investigated.
yeah,
And we believe, I'm saying we believe, it's an investigation, but by everything that we can glean, this is an actual another intimidation tactic just on not-for-profit organizations for helping people learn where and how they can register, get them registered, make sure they understand where and how to vote. This is my point. We always knew that while it might start with the James Comeys and the Letitia Jameses, and the Lisa Cooks,
yes.
the folks who Donald Trump wanted indicted because he didn't like them.
And they're
Uh,
still going after Lisa Cook, even though the
and they're
Supreme
still
Court
going after
says she can stay in that position. That's crazy.
and LaMonica MacIver, the freshman congresswoman from Newark, because she wanted to do her job to
Yes.
ensure that detention centers were not violating people's rights. And we know there's sexual assault, even of children, happening in some of these detention centers, going without appropriate oversight. I'm saying this because we also knew that you start with the more powerful, and then you get to the people who don't have as much power.
Right.
And that's where they are now going, is to ordinary, bread and butter organizations that do what we are supposed to do in our democracy. Ensure that people are supported and know where and how they can participate and know how they can use their voices to ask their government, petition their government to maybe meet their healthcare needs, ensure they can see a doctor when they're sick, that their kids are getting their disability supports in schools. These are what organizations are doing that are now being threatened by this Department of Justice.
It's crazy. And I'm going to tell you this, guys. There is a reason. And you said it earlier, why they're going after Atlanta, Detroit, Lansing, because you know what? They are afraid of the wins that are anticipated,
Mhm.
right?
Ohio is a battleground state. It's no surprise to us they're going after not-for-profit group coalition in Ohio.
Yeah. So this is really important for you to use critical thinking and understand, read between the lines. Why are they changing the rules of the game and going so hard? They're going street, Maya. They're going street. This is a street game.
They wildin'.
They're wilding out. That's right. But speaking, let me, and I'm gonna give you an example as we are closing out the show, guys. We thank you so much for joining. Tell your friends to join in because this conversation is not. Somebody said Ohio. Kathy said Ohio is gerrymandering too, and then
Oh,
somebody said called
yeah.
thugs, and
Missouri.
Manu said Texas too. I
Missouri
mean,
already
black
shared.
voters will save this country, and we are at war.
Listen, we have power. We can't end this. April, you and I remind people of this all the time. They try to take our power. Causing fear is a way to try to take our power.
Yeah.
But we have it. If we didn't have it, they wouldn't be trying to take it.
So we need to give you this big example out of the Supreme Court. Birthright citizenship. You birthright citizenship. Norm Eisen won that case. Our Norm. I'm so proud.
Our member organization, LULAC,
Yes, with
plaintiffs,
Ron. Yes,
legal
won.
defense, been an amazing, which another member organization with the leadership conference. There is a cadre out here, and people are not stopping, and we are fighting.
But wait a minute, guys. They won in the Supreme Court, but Donald Trump isn't finished. He's asking. Now listen to this. Once the Supreme Court rules, there's no appeal. It's it. That's it. But go ahead, Maya.
So the Trump administration, Trump has said, I don't think there's paperwork filed, but he has said he's going to ask the Supreme Court to rehear the birthright citizenship case. Let's just be very clear about this. If you are an originalist, as we call this court, the ideological extreme of this court says it has to be plainly stated in the Constitution. Well, birthright citizenship is plainly stated in the Constitution. We were shocked that they even took the case. They shouldn't have taken it because it's so plain. But okay, they took the case. The outcome was right. What is disturbing is that we had four of the extremists take the position, either three to dissent and one to say, and Kavanaugh said, well, Congress can legislate it away. You can't legislate away a constitutional right, by the way. But I'm just saying this because Trump is now signaling he wants to ask the Supreme Court to hear it again. There's no grounds up for the Supreme Court to hear it again. You do have, just so you all know, because if Norm were here, I'll play Norm a little bit because he'd make sure people.
That's right. Give us that legal
You
line.
you there is a right to ask for a rehearing. You get 25 days generally to ask for rehearing, but there has not been a granted rehearing. And Steve Vladeck, professor that many of you all may follow on Substack, also reminded us all the last time the Supreme Court said that it would take a rehearing was in 1965. And the reason was because there were some questions that had not been adjudicated. The courts hadn't finished with. So they sent it back down for those other questions. There's no other question here. There's no sending it back for adjudication here. So the mere fact that he wants to do it is really just another effort, in my view, to try to normalize the very idea that our Constitution doesn't say what our Constitution says, and that 100 years of case law, 100 years of different justices on the Supreme Court saying, we're done here. Birthright citizenship is birthright citizenship. This is something they continue to try to rewrite history, rewrite their own case law, and Donald Trump's trying to enshrine that in our own psyches, and we cannot let him. Just like he's trying to enshrine the normalcy about having to carry a passport. None of this is normal. We have to fight it tooth and nail. And the very fact that we have a Supreme Court that's with a majority that is ideological and captured is a thing we're going to continue to work on as well.
So basically, in layman's terms, what happens is that if the Congress remains Republican, the birthright citizenship issue could change. But
But if Kavanaugh has his way, because Justice Kavanaugh, who in my view should never have been should never have gotten the consent of the Senate even to sit on that court.
Merrick Garland should have been there, but moving on.
But we're moving on.
Yeah.
You deny one president the ability to have a hearing on his nominee, and then another president who gets to have someone who has clearly demonstrated they're unfit for the
Preach.
job. But okay, but Kavanaugh says, I do not see this as a constitutional right. Now, whether or not the Justice Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett both were in the majority on the birthright citizenship case, but the fact that they're trying to suggest that Congress can, that we have a justice saying Congress can, and we have a president who is saying,
Ooh.
I demand, that means we have to think about who we're voting for and what they may try to do with the power we lend them as the
Oh, Maya, we got to move on, but I thank you so much. And that's why I carry my passport. So, guys, at the end of the day, we are talking with Maya Wiley. Maya Wiley is the CEO of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. She's a lawyer extraordinaire that you've been listening to. Guys, we've gone so far past our time. But at the end of the day, Maya, what are you looking forward to in this moment? And we got hearts coming up. Thank you, guys.
Look, I'm looking forward to more fighting. We are fighting out here for our rights. People are showing up. The more we are educating, I'm excited about the more this administration does, the opportunity we're going to have next week to remind the public what its Department of Justice is doing. All of these things are helping us to ensure that we continue to fight. So I'm here for it. We want you here for it. Go check us out at civilrights.org. Easy, but participate, understand your power, never allow anyone to take it from you.
Never allow anyone to take it from you. What am I looking forward to? Well, I'm looking forward to my show today at 5:30 p.m. Maya, guess who we've got? We've
Oh,
got Texas Congressman Al Green to talk
yeah.
about what happened with ICE in Texas. So we're going to further the conversation. So, guys, I need you. I know you're here, but come back at 5:30 and tune in because we're going to knock the pot over on the tea with April.
Ne-
With that said,
ne-
I
Never listen to Al Green.
not the singer, but this one carries a nice walking cane and will tell you about yourself. So listen, guys, I need you to shop.contrariannews.org for your coffee with Contrarian and the tea with April mugs, plus those gorgeous prints that are a limited release, The Art of Resistance. And thank our viewers. We're thanking you for subscribing and being here today. Tell your friends, tell your family. We are not playing here. The money that you subscribe with is going for Norm to be in court to win these cases, for democracy, for you, for all of us to stay here, to be able to tell you the truth and shame the devil, because we're telling you stuff that those other people aren't saying, those other organizations. And with that said, Maya, my soror of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Thank you, my sister. And she's a lawyer extraordinary. Guys, don't forget, thank you, Contrarian, for putting up, order your favorite Contrarian merch here. They got it up on the chat. I will see you at 5:30. Tune in at 5:30. Bring a friend because we got some talking to do and knock the pot over. Thank you, guys. See you later. Have a great, productive day. Bye-bye.